Hello and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Well, it is lecture 4 of ancient history and the date is 18th August 2025. Well, what we are going to discuss today is about the decline of IVC and the introduction about the Vedic culture. Maybe we will discuss the early Vedic age. So let's prepare ourselves for it. Before we'll start our discussion, I would like to give the brief introduction what we had discussed so far on the timeline basis. We started with 200 million BCE, 2 million BCE till approximately 50,000 BCE, or for India it is assumed that it is 35,000 BCE. It was the Paleolithic age. Paleolithic age. We discussed Paleolithic age in a very detail. We saw that how it was in the Pleistocene era, how it was in the Ice Age, and we saw that evolution of people, evolution of humans in that. We discussed three stages of Paleolithic age in very great detail. Then after that, from 3500 BCE to 10,000 BCE, it is the Mesolithic age. Mesolithic age, the global warming started, domestication of animals started, and population grew. And when the temperature started, the bodily structures also started to change. We saw that, we discussed that in very great detail. Then from 10,000 BCE to 4000 BCE, we saw the Neolithic age. Neolithic age, where agriculture started. And in this we saw that how it is a revolution in itself, how it revolutionized the whole world, or with respect to India, the whole country or the whole subcontinent. How the complexities grew, the society became more complex. We saw the stages of the early stages of the political system. We saw all that in it. And with respect to this, we saw various sites in Jammu and Kashmir, with respect that in the northern India. Then we saw various sites in the southern India, in the northeast, and everything whatever was required for it, we had discussed that. After that, we saw there was another phase, which is the Chalcolithic phase, from 4000 BCE to approximately 1700 BCE, if we will combine the Chalcolithic age. But this Chalcolithic age, it is little different for earlier phases for 4000 BCE to 2500 BCE. It is divided into one phase where there are less Harappan sites, or Harappan Chalcolithic phase without Harappan culture, and it is the Copper Age. Then we have another phase starting from 3500 BCE to 1700 BCE, where we see the Harappan Chalcolithic phase, or we can say the Bronze Age. We had discussed everything with respect to that. Currently what we are discussing the Indus Valley civilization. In the Indus Valley civilization, which is the part of the Chalcolithic phase, the Bronze Age, and we discussed every aspect of the Indus Valley civilization. We saw the society, what kind of society was there. We saw how women were treated. We saw that the political system there, if it was there, what can we get from it, and various other things we discussed with respect to that. And now today's discussion with respect to IVC, it would be the last lecture or last discussion related to IVC, where we will discuss the decline. In the yesterday's class, we saw that its origin, was it sudden origin, or it was the continuation of something, then it originated. We discussed that, we saw the theories given, and we countered those theories also. Now this is what we are discussing now. But on this basis, we also discussed in our first lecture that there is something called the sources of history. Sources of history. On this basis of the sources of history, there would be prehistory, where we have only archaeological where we have only archaeological evidences. For example, in that we have Paleolithic age, we have Mesolithic age, we have Neolithic age, and we have Chalcolithic age without Harappan civilization. Then we have the proto history, where we have both archaeological evidence as well as the written evidence, but we cannot read the written evidence. In that comes the in this phase comes the IVC in the Swahili civilization, where we have the we have the literary source, but we are not able to decipher it. Nobody has deciphered it so far. There was a person who who said once that he had deciphered everything in the Swahili civilization, but it was rejected by majority of the historians. Now, today we are going to complete the proto-history part, where we will discuss the decline of the IVC, and then we will start the historical part, which starts with the Vedic culture, the advent of Aryans. Then we will discuss the Vedic culture. In this we will start with the early Vedic age, and we'll see various aspects of it. So today's discussion will revolve around this. And one more thing I would like to mention here, that please don't ask me the questions that, sir, you did not discuss the pottery, you did not discuss various aspects, because those things, these lectures are totally based on the history part. In it, we are not going to we are not going to touch the cultural and art and culture part. So please don't ask such questions. After we will complete the ancient history and medieval history, then again we will start the art and culture. There we will discuss everything. So please don't hurry. Be patient with respect to that. This is what we are going to do, and this is what so far we had discussed. I hope everything is clear with respect to this. Now let us start our discussion today by first giving the proper introduction of this initiative to you guys, so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Then we will start what we have to discuss today. So about this initiative, we started it from June 2nd, 2025 by the name Target IAS 2026. So in this initiative, we had promised you that every day we will try our best to upload 2 videos in which we will take care of 2 important aspects of your syllabus. One is your current affairs, which we upload in the morning session. Then the second one is your static syllabus, which is this video. In the static portion, we had promised you that by the month of January 2026, we are going to complete your full syllabus, whatever would be required to clear for you to clear the exam, whether it would be related to prelims, whether it would be related to mains, we will cover that. But the only exception is that we are not going to cover your optional subjects here. This is the only exception. And one more thing which I want to add here, that we had started with Indian polity, which we had already completed. It took us 30 lectures for Indian polity. We had completed every aspect of Indian polity. I would recommend you to go and go to our YouTube channel, go through the playlists. There you will find the Indian polity lectures. You would definitely like that. After that, we started with governance, which we had already completed in 11 lectures, and now we are discussing the history. In the history, we first started with ancient history, and it is the 4th lecture. And at the same time, I had told you one thing. It is not only the lectures which will be helpful for you to clear the exam. This will give you the conceptual clarity. Sometimes it is not humanly possible that we will cover every aspect. We may miss. We are humans. So for that, what you can do, you can either read books which are in the market, whatever you want to read, or you have another option from us, that we are already preparing your notes. We had already prepared notes for Indian polity and governance, which is comprehensively written. It is a comprehensive comprehensive book for your both prelims and mains, Indian polity and governance, and it is already available. If you want to get access to it, please do mail us. The mail ID would be given in the bio, and you would be told to pay 200 rupees. Why only 200 rupees? Because once we started this initiative, I promised you that it would be only 200 rupees. Trust me, once you will read this book, you will see that how much cost effective it is. Ideally, it should have been more than 800 rupees, if I will be honest with you guys. But for you guys, I had promised you it is only 200 rupees, so 200 rupees. If you want to get access to it, please do mail us. So with this is the initiative which we had started. If you want to be part of it, please do subscribe this channel, do share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited with this initiative. And please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys. This initiative is all about you. Now without any delay, let's start our discussion. As I told you, today we have to discuss the decline of the IVC. But before we will discuss the decline of IVC, I would like to give you some important facts which can be very much relevant for your UPSC prelims question, or if you are studying for PSC exams, then definitely for that. So, you often in the UPSC, if with respect to the Indus Valley civilization, the questions would come in the form of match the following. There would be given the sites and what were the discoveries found there, and you have to match these two. So with respect to this, I had made a comprehensive I had made this comprehensive kind of slide for you, kind of comprehensive information for you, which should be helpful for you guys. This slide should be helpful for you guys. For example, I would give you the site and certain important features related to that site, which you should remember. First, we will start with the Mohenjo-daro. What are the important features of it, which are very specific to the Mohenjo-daro? First, it would be great bath, very specific to it. It would be assembly hall, very specific to it. And it would be the college of priests. So these are specific things to these sites. For Mohenjo-daro, it would be great bath, it would be assembly hall, and college of priests. So please remember that. If you are watching this video, please do note down this, what I am giving right now, because it is very much important. You can expect prelims questions from this slide. Then second, take the example of Chanhu-daro. What are the important features here? Seal making is one important feature. Shell working and making of stone weights. Please do note this also. Then what is the important feature of Harappa, which is specific to Harappa? It is granaries. It is specific to Harappa. Then what about Sarkota? What is specific to it? It is horse. Even though there is discussion whether the horse was familiar, whether the IVC people were familiar with horse or not, but we can say that if the question asks and the, in the statement there is Sarkota Gyun, then please do match it. Horse was definitely found there. That is, they have the knowledge of horse. It is established fact now. Now after that, what are the important features of Kalibangan? Fire altars. It is the important feature. And both citadel complex and lower town were fortified. So this is the important feature of this Kalibangan site. Now let me rub it, and I will give you few other sites which you have to note down. This is very specific to prelims. I will again repeat, please do note this down. It can be very much helpful for you in correcting, in making these 2 marks in the prelims exam. You can expect a question from it. Then Kalibangan we have Lothal, important feature which is specific to it. It is dockyard. Even though we find rice also there, but rice we also find at the another site too. These are the specific features. It is Lothal dockyard. Then Dalveria, it is water tanks, water harvesting and water management. Water tanks, water harvesting and water management. Then Bonavali, important features related to it: large number of beads of gold, lapis lazuli is there. tiny weights, and attached to stone showing streaks of gold. Attached stone showing streaks of gold, and jewelry house. Jewelry house. These are the feature. This is the feature of the Banwali. So please do note down these features which I had given you here. It can be very much important for your prelims exam. Now let us shift to our today's discussion, which is the decline of Indus Valley civilization. With respect to the decline of Indus Valley civilization, again the first question, was it sudden or gradual? You have to understand, was the decline of Indus Valley civilization, question is, was the decline of Indus Valley civilization sudden or gradual? So there can be the different theories with respect to that. Some may say it was sudden. Why? Because maybe if we look at the Indus Valley civilization zone, it comes under the earthquake zones, earthquake. So maybe earthquakes may have hit this region and it would have destroyed the full civilization. Could be the reason, could be, chances are there, but we don't have the exact data with respect to that. We don't have the exact data with respect to that. And the people living in this region, they were very, very well aware of the things happening there, and they would have very well prepared with respect to that. Then second theory which is given, that maybe there was drastic flooding. It would have hit the places, and we have the evidence for that. For example, we have Mohenjo-daro, which was flooded 7 times. When the horizontal evacuation was done, it was found that there are lines which show that it was houses which show the lines. It shows that it was flooded 7 times, or some say 4 times. It not important for you, but what is important, was it because of the flooding? We can't say. Some say yes, maybe, but we can't give the exact answer to it. Why? Because they had very great knowledge of the canal system. They have drainage system, they had well developed drainage system, so they would have been very much aware of it. It would have been easy for them to save themselves from this issue. So flooding, it can be the reason, but can't be the reason. Then the another theory is that there would have been attack from outsiders, and the major suspect goes to the Aryans. Maybe it was the attack from the Aryans. They would have attacked the Indus Valley civilization, and it is it is said that it was the Aryan god Indra who destroyed the forts, and also called the Purandra, who destroyed the cities, the destroyer of the world. But is it so? What is the evidence which can support this statement? The only evidence is that there is a site in Mohenjo-daro where there is a mass grave where we find 25 to 26 skeletons which are hit by arrows. Rather than that, there is no such thing. So is it possible that it was the Aryans who had destroyed it? Well, it can be possible, but there is no concrete statement with respect to that. And also, if it would have been so, then these Aryans, the nature of the Aryans is very much different. If they come there, they would have stayed there. They would have not totally destroyed it. So this theory in itself is not something which could satisfy the modern historians. And it is believed that it was majorly the Western propaganda, the colonial propaganda, that this region, the Indian subcontinent, there has been always invaders, so that they can justify their rule in India. So it is something which is not accepted by the modern historians, and mostly the people believe in the modern times that it was not the inward migration of the Aryans, but it was the outward migration of the Aryans. They migrated from the India. Well, that is something different debate which we will see in the Vedic culture. So it is believed, this is also one of the theory, that it was the Aryan, it was because of the Aryans attacked it. So because of that, there would have been destruction. But one thing, we don't have a proper evidence for it. And also second thing, if we look at the IVC age, mostly from 3500 BC, let's take it from this to 1700 BC. And what about the in this what about the Aryan age, Vedic age? It is from 1500 BCE to 600 BCE. So definitely there is 200 time period, 200 years time period, which which shows that within these 200, this after the IVC ended, after 200 periods, these Aryans came into India. And also, if we look at the track followed by Aryans, what is believed that the inward migration of Aryans, that is totally different too. So there are various draw loopholes to this theory, but here I would like to add, I would like to mention that it is most unlikely that UPSC will ask you a question from this this phase of your syllabus, from this area. Why? Because there is no clarity for the UPSC too. So they would it is not the habit of the UPSC to ask such questions where there is no clarity. So that is also clear to you, which I hope. Now, what is the only theory which is mostly accepted by the people? It is the ecological change. Ecological change, it would have been the logical, it gives us the logical explanation that why it is the ecological change which led to the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. Now let's put some light on it, how it led to the decline of Indus Valley civilization, the ecological change. The first question which we answered, was it a sudden decline or it was the continuous decline? Definitely it was it was not a sudden decline. It was not a sudden decline, but it declined over a period of time. And the estimated period of time where we see the decline is 900 BCE to 1700 BCE. What are the reasons why we see decline in this time period? The reasons are, there are under this time period we see we see less number of artifacts. We see less number of artifacts. We see we see the people. First of all, we see less number of artifacts in this time period. Size of settlements, it also decreased. And also we see the signs of stress, disaster, and multiple indications of decline. So that's why we say that in this time period the decline actually started. Now, as I told you, what could be the actual reason for the decline? It is mostly believed that it was the ecological reason. First of all, how we can give this statement that it was the ecological reason? First, IVC, it was the Bronze Age. For that, they would need alloys of copper. For that, to produce the copper, they would need a huge fuel. And where from they will get the fuel? From the forests. They will cut the trees, and definitely there would have been huge deforestation. When there is such deforestation at that scale, definitely it would have triggered the ecological change. Rains would have been less, and drought would have increased, and eventually it would have led to the when there is drought, when rains are less, when they are not able to produce, what it will lead to? As it was the agrarian society mostly, so they will start to shift to their they would start to move from one place to another to find out where they can build their cities, or where they can live, and where they can get the food, the basic necessity. So this is what is believed that it is the one of the reason. And also the rivers started to change the courses. When the rivers are young, one thing important about the rivers is that they start to change courses. For example, here the Mohenjo-daro was on the banks, and there is some another site which was here. Once it started to change the courses, it started to change the course. The Mohenjo-daro, it will get the drought, and another site it will get the floods. So definitely it will lead to because of the drought and floods, they realized that this place is not good for living now, and they started to shift from other places. Does it mean that by the decline of IVC it was the decline of full society, all the people living in IVC? No, it does not mean that. Maybe they would have migrated to other places. We don't find such evidence that all the people of IVC would have died. And in fact, if the DNA analysis of the modern people are done, it is found that their DNA matches with the people of IVC as well as with the people of Aryans or with the Vedic early Vedic age. So definitely it was the it was there was the intermingling of these two societies. First they would have migrated, and then when IVC, when the Aryans came in, then there would have been the intermingling, there would have been intermarriages, and definitely the people evolved of that. So what is the accepted, which is mostly accepted by the people? It was the ecological change. The desertification had started, and they realized that they are not able to produce the proper amount of food for their cattle, for themselves. So it was proper time for them to to shift their bases, and the trade has declined. And it is also believed that at the same time, when the when there was the decline in the Mesopotamian civilization, it led to the decline of the IVC also, because the trade declined with respect to other civilizations, and it had led to the decline of IVC. So I hope till this it is clear, everything is clear so far. Now we discussed the decline of IVC. We did not discuss the poetry, what was used there, that we will see. I told you, I'm again saying that these classes are specific to history. So please don't ask me, don't say that we did not cover the chapters from art and culture, because for that we will have a separate discussion. Now let's move to the Vedic age. I hope IVC is clear. We had completed the proto-history phase. Now we will move to the historic phase of our country, which starts with the Vedic age. And to understand the Vedic age, we have to understand few questions before. First, we have to understand who are Aryans, what are they, and we have to understand, why there is so much similarity between the languages. We have to understand various things with respect to that. So let's start. Let me give again where we reached. Let's assume 3500 BCE to 1700 BCE we have the IVC. Then from 1500 BCE to 1000 BCE we have the early Vedic age or the Rig Vedic age. So we have this early Vedic age or the Rig Vedic age. As you can see, there is the gap of 200 years, of which we don't have any proper knowledge, of which we don't have any proper knowledge. What happened in these 200 years? We don't have the idea about that. We can't guess anything about it. And the most recent research which was done was with respect to Vadnagar, but it is still in the research phase, yet there is no conclusion with respect to that. So this phase from 1700 BC to 1500 BC, we don't have any idea about that. So is this clear? Now the question is, as we have to discuss the IVC, as we have to discuss the Vedic age now, in the Vedic age we have to start with the early Vedic age. Where from we get the early Vedic age? It is the Rig Veda, which is the literary source. We have the Rig Vedic age, Rig Veda, and in the Rig Veda we see that there is written that with the Aryans, these Aryans are they are writing this Vedic, they are writing the Rig Veda. So it were the Aryans who gave us the Rig Veda. Aryans gave us the Rig Veda. So the question is, who are these Aryans? For that, there are different theories. First, let's say that how the Aryans were in our country, how they entered in our country. So who were these people? So let's understand that. Let's first develop our discussion. This Rig Veda these important facts you need to know. It is the first text of Indian subcontinent, written in 5000 BCE, 15,000 BCE. Earlier it was the oral transaction. Then it was mentioned, it was written in Sanskrit, and in Brahmi script. In Brahmi script, the script we use for Hindi. Unfortunately, my medium was never Hindi. I had never studied Hindi, so I cannot write the Hindi words. My medium is Urdu and English, so that is the difference. So this I cannot show you, but you would be very much aware of what Brahmi script is. So with respect to this, if we look at earliest language, written language, it is Sanskrit, earliest written language. Well, whether I don't want to start a political debate here, whether it is the oldest language is Sanskrit or Tamil, I don't have any idea about it. I don't want to start a political debate, but what the literary sources say that it is Sanskrit. But what I want to believe that it should be Tamil, not Tamil. It should be the oldest language. I want to believe it, but literary sources say Sanskrit. We have to stay with it. And the question would not be asked with respect to it in the exam. Not relevant for you guys. So what is believed that these Aryans, they were in the Central Asia. And what was their occupation? What they used to do there? They were the what they used to do? They were the pastoralists. They were the pastoralists. They would have the cattle. They will graze the cattle. And these people, these Central Asian people, what they did, they migrated to different places. They migrated in different directions. And one of these people, what they did, they reached Indian subcontinent too, and they settled here. Now, how can this theory be supported? For example, there were different groups. They migrated in groups, definitely. But one thing would have been very much common to them. That is the language. Let's suppose it is the language which is common to them. Language common to them. And they started to migrate to different places. They went to different places, and one settled in India too, Indian subcontinent. Now, if we look at the languages, especially the Indo-European languages, there are various words which are, when pronounced, they look very much similar. For example, I will give the example of in English we have mother, and in Sanskrit we have mother. I guess it is mother. So there are very striking words. So what is the reason for that? How we can get it? Why these different languages? And if we look at the various different languages, how they are, for example, in Kashmiri we say Moj. So there is phonetics is very much resembling. Why it is so? What is the reason for that? For that you have to understand it in the different countries speaking different languages, but there is something especially in the Indo-European languages, there is something which is common to all these languages. Their phonetics looks very much similar. So what is the reason for that? And that we are trying to establish. I am trying to establish that sense to you guys. These people would have migrated to other places, and definitely the places where they migrated, they would have some language of their own. Suppose this place, they had their language. Let's suppose it were the Indus Valley civilization people. They used to speak something. Let's suppose it is B. And the language they used to speak, let's suppose it is X. So here they would speak language C, they would speak language D, they will speak language E. When they went to this place, usually it is also the present understanding. If you will go to any place, for example, I am from Jammu and Kashmir. When I went to Tamil Nadu for my BTech, I did it from SRM University. So there people, they don't understand Hindi. Even though I don't understand Hindi that much, but at least I know Urdu. So speaking to North Indians was very much easy for me rather than Tamil people. So what we will do? Will the Tamilians learn our language or will we learn their language? What is the exact, what is the scenario there? Who will try to learn the language? Who will try to learn the words? If not the language fully, at least we will try to learn the words. For example, when I went to Tamil, I knew that there are few words. Anna is for brother, Akka is for sister, Tambi is for younger brother. So words like that. Sir, for example, if we will go to canteen, Anna, run the cigarette, run the samosa on chai, something like that. We will speak to them. Give me 2 samosas and 1 chai. So this is how we interact. The people who go to other places, they try to learn their language. They try to mix with their languages. And at the same time, now if if the group of the people is superior, for example, if they are the superior, they are going to dictate the terms there, then what will happen? There would be, their language would be mostly, their language will get mixed with the, their language will get mixed with the language of the native people, because the natives would have to talk with them. So there would be the mixing of these languages, and this mixing of these languages, it led to the introduction of Indo-European languages. So here X plus B, it became Sanskrit. Here X plus C, it became English. So something here and something here. That is how the Indo-European languages emerged. And this is one of the reasons we believe that these Aryans who migrated from Central Asia, they are not, it is not that they were actually Indians who migrated outside, but they were from Central Asia and they migrated to different places, and similarly they entered into India. Otherwise, the things would have been very much different. That's why we see the similarities of the languages in different regions. So this is widely accepted theory, how Indo-European languages have the similar phonetics, and this is how they have the similar phonetics. And this is the theory of the migration of the Aryans. The another theory which we discussed in the decline of industrial civilization, it is the invasion of Aryans. It is totally incorrect, incorrect theory. It is something to, it is a kind of a propaganda which the Europeans, with the colonial bosses, they tried to spread at that time so that they can justify their rule, but it is nothing invasion of Aryans. The maximum we can accept is the migration of the Aryans. So this is how they migrated different places and they intermingled with them. What were they? They were the pastoralists. They were the people who would graze their cattle, and they were not something, they did not go there for the war. They were not war-minded, warmongers. They were peaceful people. They went there, they wanted to feed their pastures, and at the same time they want to live there. So they were the nomadic in nature. They go to different places, and the only common thing which they have with them was their language. And in this way, Indo-European languages developed, and in this way various languages developed, and that's why we have the similarities of the languages. Now still we did not answer the question. What was the question? The question was, who are Aryans? Now you have got little idea, there is something to do with the language. So and they belong to Central Asia, definitely something to do with the ethnicity. Now let's see what are these Aryans. These Aryans are the linguistic ethnic groups of people who may have migrated into various places including Indian subcontinent, and their primary occupation was nomadic pastorals. So let me write it for you guys so that you will get more connected with it. Who are Aryans? Aryans are linguistic ethnic groups. Linguistic ethnic group of people who may have migrated with respect to India to India with their primary occupation was the nomadic pastorals. So there is nothing in Aryan invasion. They are not warmongers. They were not something who would destroy anything. So this is the understanding which you should have with respect to them. So with this, as they are the linguistic groups, they are the nomadic pastorals, they assert that they are the authors of the Vedas. What? They assert that they are the authors of Vedas. They assert that they are the authors of the Vedas. Now let's shift our discussion to the Vedas. What are these Vedas? How how many Vedas we have? And let's start our discussion with respect to that. Again, I would add, repeat here that it is not a cultural part. It is only the historic part. So we will, we will leave some things here which we have to discuss in the art and culture. Now, the discussion is Vedas. We know about the Vedas. There are two types. One is Rig Veda, Rig Vedic time period, which is from 1500 BCE to 1000 BCE, and then there is another later Vedic period, which is from 61, which is from 1000 BCE to 600 BCE. 1000 BCE to 600 BCE. And what are the Vedas in here? We have Sama Veda, Yajurveda, and Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda. So these are the four Vedas which we have to take care of, around which our Vedic civilization would revolve. In the art and culture, we will discuss them in detail. So let's discuss the early Vedic period. Let's discuss our early Vedic period. Let's see what kind of political system was there, economic system was there, social system was there, and what kind of religion was there. Totally, it is something fun to discuss, and it would be very much helpful for you guys. So it is the early Vedic period which we have to discuss now. Early Vedic period. Early Vedic period, or the characteristics of the early Vedic period. First, let's start with the economic organization of Rig Vedic period. Organization of Rig Vedic period. If you remember that, if you can remember that in IVC we saw that there was trade. It was both within the IVC cultures as well as the external trade. But in the Rig Vedic period, and also in IVC we saw that they were the agriculturalists. But in Rig Vedic period we saw that who were the people who migrated to our region? They were mostly the pastoral people, those who reared cattle. So primary economic activity was pastoralism with limited agriculture in the Rig Vedic time period. Primary economic activity was pastoralism with limited agriculture. So this was the primary economic activity. There was no currency system, nothing like that, or barter system, no external trade with the other sides. Only the within the Vedic civilization or Vedic culture there was the trade, but no external trade. And also, as there was no currency, the marker of wealth was the cattle. If you have the huge number of cattle, then you would be considered, you would be rich. And this culture was very much continuity till very recent. And even in the villages, even during our times in the villages, it is believed that the household which have the huge mound of the cow dung or the cattle dung, that household in the village would be considered that they are the wealthy. So it is something which is still in the continuity. There was no external trade. So definitely when there was no external trade, no currency, limited agriculture, people were the pastorals, there was pastoralism going on. So definitely it was the regression, the period of regression from the earlier IVC which they have. Was there occupational diversity? 100% there was occupational diversity. They were not only the pastorals there, there were agriculturists there, there were the artisans also, goldsmith, they were also there, but majorly they were the pastorals, but diversity was there. You know, you would find goldsmiths also there, you will find other artisans there, you will find agriculturists there, but agriculture was very much limited, so diversity was there. You know, animals such as horse, goat, sheep, they were added, the words for them are added in the Rig Veda. You know, we discuss the early Vedic age from the Rig Vedic context. You know, what is given there, on that basis we give the theory what was in the Rig Vedic time period. So also you could become the dasa and dasi. You could become dasa and dasi because of maybe war, you are captured in the war, then you could become dasa and dasi, or you are you have the debt, you have debt of someone, then he would force you to become the dasa and dasi. There is no social stratification on the basis of caste, no varna system. You know, some historians say that because of the 10th 10th chapter of the Rig Veda, they say that there is varna system was there, but it is not established fact. If the question would be asked in the Rig Vedic age, was there varna system? The answer is no, there was no varna system. But definitely, if we look at it, the Brahmans and Kshatriyas are recognized. Brahmans were the priests and Kshatriyas they were used to fight. So these are the only two varnas which were recognized. Now let's move to the political system. What kind of the political system was there in the Rig Vedic age? Political system. We have the tribal polity. Head of the tribe was the Raja. He was the Rajan. Sorry, he was the Rajan, the protector of people and the cattle. Protector of people and cattle. Was this Rajan the hereditary post? No, it was not hereditary, but he was elected by the people. Elected by the people. Elected would be more specific. Not elected, we can say chosen by the people. Chosen by the people on the basis of consensus. There would have been the consensus. And what were the qualifications? If we'll analyze it, the qualification would have been the experience and the knowledge. On these basis, the Rajan was chosen. He would be the head of the tribe. There was a tribal, there was a tribal polity. Does he administer everything by his own? No, he does not administer everything by his own. His only job was to protect the people and the cattle. How does he administer? He has two councils for that. Two councils are for that. What are these councils? One is Sabha. Sabha. This council, it is the association or council of elderly adults of the tribe. Elderly adults of the tribe. And women were also the part of it. So it is said that the women, they enjoyed the highest space in the Rig Vedic times. After that, their condition declined. After the Rig Vedic time, their condition declined. So first house, it was the Sabha, the elderly adults of the tribe, where it was represented by the elderly adults of the tribe. Both men and women are part of it. A kind of like a panchayat. And then there is another, which is Samiti. Samiti, it is called the council or association of all adult members of the tribe. All adult members of the tribe, both men and women, and even the younger ones, younger adults, they are the part of this Samiti. In the Sabha, only the elderly adults. This is the difference between the two. And if the modern example of it would be the Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha, because everyone who is who had attained the age of 18, he is eligible to, he is the member of the Gram Sabha. So this, these they would elect the Rajan for them. They will choose the Rajan for them who would be wise, who would have the knowledge, and who would have the experience. So this shows, we cannot call it a democratic system, but it shows the early signs of democracy in India, in Indian subcontinent. But we can definitely say that it is the representation. It was the representation of the people, and these were the administrative bodies. Besides Sabha and Smriti, there was another body too, which is called as Vidhata. Let's see what Vidhata is. Vidhata, it is basically the cultural body. Vidhata we have. Vidhata, it is a cultural body. Cultural body. When a samiti or every adult meets for ritualistic purpose or a ceremonial purpose is called the Vidhata. When all adults meet for ritualistic purpose, it is called Vidhata. It is called Vidhata. So these were the three offices, or the administrative offices were the Sabha and Samiti, and Vidhata, it is the cultural body. What kind of, was there a question about it can be asked in the exam? Was there any taxation? There was no taxation in the early Vedic age, but people used to give the voluntary gifts to the Rajan, which is called as Bali. It was the voluntary gift to give, which was given to the Rajan. Maybe Rajan would have done something great. On that basis, it was given to them. Otherwise, there are no such taxation. There was no permanent taxation. What are the other officials? Please do note them. They can be very much relevant for your prelims exam. Maybe asked in the exam. First, we have Purohita, which is called the priest. Then we have the Senapati, commander. Then we have the Rajapati. It is the in charge of pasture land, or gas charai, whatever you can call it. Then we have the Gramini, which is the head of Grama. Then we have Purapati, which is the in charge of forts. Then we have Jiva Gribha, or Ugra, one and the same thing. It is police. Jiva Gribha or Urga, it is police, or in charge of law and order. Then we have the Spasa, which is intelligence officer or spy. And then we have Duta, which is messenger. So please, my request to you all guys, if you are watching it, do remember these words. They can be very much relevant for your prelims exam. Questions often are asked from such words. What does this word mean in the early Vedic age, in the later Vedic age? Such questions are often asked in the prelims exam. So please do note down these questions. Now, if we look at the what was the hierarchy with respect to the administration, at the top we have the Rajan, who was at the top we have the Jana, and the head of the Jana was the Rajan. Let me rub it. We will see the hierarchy in it. We have Jana. It was headed by the Rajan, the tribal chief. Then we have Vis. There were many Vises under the Jana. For Vis, it was headed by the Visapati, and under Vis there were many Gramas, and these Gramas were headed by the Gramini. And below the Gramas there were the Kulas, and these are the family system. Kulas. These were the bloodly related kulas, bloodly related, and the head of the kula was the kulapati. Kulapati. This is the family. This can be in modern days we can call him the sarpanch, the head of the grama. In the head of the visa we call him the district magistrate, and the jana in the modern times we may call him the governor. So this is the modern view of this. Now let's move to the another topic. What was this? How did the society look, and what kind of religion they followed? Then we will conclude our today's discussion with respect to the early Vedic age. Society and religion. You know, this society, as we know that there was not so much agriculture, not so much agriculture. So we know that when their agriculture was not that much there, definitely the complex societies were not that much there. But at the same time, little agriculture was there, so little complex societies. And at the same time, we have the pastoral system too. Pastoral system too. So the society was less complex. The society was based on the occupational, was divided on the occupational differentiation. The society, it was divided on the occupational differentiation. We can say that it was neither egalitarian but not divided. It was neither egalitarian but not divided. It was neither egalitarian where there was absolute equality, but at the same time not divided. It was neither egalitarian nor divided. The occupations would decide to what caste or to what varna you are. It would be the occupation, not the blood. Occupations would divide. If you belong to any occupation, for example, if you are Brahman, you can tomorrow be the Kshatriya too. So it is the occupation which will decide, not the blood. There was inter-varna dining was there, inter-varna marriages were there, and the woman, it is believed that woman, they enjoyed, the last time they enjoyed the freedom was in the early Vedic age. We see the woman Brahmans, woman scholars, for example, Apala, Lopamudro, Gargi, which we will discuss in the art and culture part in detail. We see the woman scholars too. And the patriarchy, it was in the early phase. Patriarchy was in early phase. How we can say that? Because the head of the kola was the kolapati. So definitely patriarchy had started, but in the early phase, in the primary phase. We saw that there was no varna system. If question would be asked, no categoric varna system there. Yes, Brahmans and Kshatriyas, they were acknowledged, but this was not on the basis of blood, but on the basis of occupation. There is no mention of the Vaishya and the Shudra word in the Rig Vedic time. In the Rig Veda, there is no mention of the Vaishya and the Shudra word. Polygamy, it was very common. Monogamy was also common. Polyandry was also common. Polyandry was also common. So man can have multiple wives, man can have one wife, woman can have multiple husbands, woman can have one husband. It was very much common. What was the religion? Religion, they were the naturalistic religion. There was the naturalistic religion. Naturalistic religion. They believed in the forces of the nature. Believed in the forces of the nature. For example, they have the fire god Indra, Agni. They have the rain. For rain, they have the god. They have Indra. They have Agni. They have Varun. They have Usha, Aditi. They have various gods, but they were on the face of forces of the nature. So this was their religion. They worshipped them for their if they wanted anything from them. So this is about the society and religion. So with this we had completed our today's discussion with respect to the early Vedic age. We had to discuss much more about it, but we will see in the art and culture, and then you can definitely feel satisfied. I know that if you are watching it now, you may feel that we had not discussed that part or falani part, but definitely we will take that in the art and culture. Here it is totally focusing on the history, important facts, important concepts which we had discussed. So with this we had completed our today's discussion. One more thing which I want to add, was iron common? Knowledge of iron was there, but iron was not common. Iron became common from 1000 BC onwards. From the later Vedic age, iron became common, but they have the knowledge of iron, but it was not used that much. So with this, we complete our today's discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. I hope you would share it with your friends, and I definitely hope you would subscribe the channel. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.